Hi, Chris. Hi, Casey.
Hi.
How are you guys doing today?
It's an amazing show. There's so much energy this year.
Indeed, yes. Obviously, hot topics with AI, which is what we're here to talk about today. But yeah, it's good so far.
So we all go back many years, but for those that don't know you guys, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Chris Muli. I run North America EPM at Oracle. Just shy of 29 years. I've started rounding up to 30. It just feels like the right thing to do. But 29 years in all manner of functions based out of New Jersey.
And I'm Kaci Coble. I have responsibility for EPM for North America from the sales perspective, so partnering with Chris's organization to help customers of all sorts, bringing new organizations into the Oracle community for the first time, working with our amazing Hyperion community of folks to move them to the cloud, and all sorts of customer success and support and community building in between.
What are you guys most excited about when it comes to this new revolution or this inflection point that we're at with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, is this a toy? Is this something that'll be industrialized? Is this something that'll apply to business process? And I think in the last 6 to 9 months, you're starting to see that, no, this stuff is going to be absolutely transformational. So yeah, it's a very exciting time. Scary, but exciting. I always say there's two sides of every coin. I think there are people nervous about it, but there's also an incredible opportunity and energy around it.
Yeah. I think, and fitting for yourself in the role that you're in, I think what I'm actually most excited about is not necessarily anything in the software, but it's what AI is going to do for implementations. Because there's so many times where we engage with customers and they're like, oh, I'm frustrated with this thing or that thing. And we're like, well, the software does all of those things. It just wasn't set up that way. And I see a lot of customers that, the pace of everything is so intense right now. And so a lot of projects, it's kind of a lift and shift. They definitely don't want to lift and transform. And we even try to go, is there a lift and enhance? Like, can we do something in the middle? And I think that AI, I was talking to one of our big telecommunications customers last night, and they were saying that they're even using their own internal chatbot as all the different kind of constituencies in the EPM project are putting forth their requests and requirements. And letting chat consolidate some of that and show where there are synergies and where there may be gaps. And so I think what it's going to do for implementations from just a speed and efficiency perspective, but and two, it feels like for a long time folks want to do really in-depth profitability and really interesting analysis of their business, but they end up just going, we got to keep the lights on, we need a budget, we need a plan, we got to close, we got to report, and then they just kind of do that, and they're like, okay, we need a break. We don't have the energy to go do all these nice to haves. We just got to get the must have. So I actually really think, obviously we're doing incredible things in the software, but I think what it's going to do for implementations is going to be really exciting for customers.
Yeah, we kind of think of artificial intelligence in really two categories at EPMI. There's the deterministic side when it comes to like numeric data, right? Being able to use machine learning and create a forecast by prediction. Then there's what most people think of AI as generative AI, which is the text base, right? What are some examples on how Oracle's incorporating both of these technologies?
And so starting to have conversations about predictive is AI, generative is AI, agentic is AI, all of them are AI, all of them have applicable use cases, and any of them applied to a use case is where you want to start, right? So I think we're starting to see people understand that there are different flavors, and the different flavors can drive different outcomes, and the key is to start, right? Just to start somewhere. Pick a spot where you can use one of the flavors, and then you can use the next flavor, but start dipping your toe. Because I think that's probably the greatest fear I think I see when we talk to customers is knowing where to start, knowing how to start is the scariest part right now in terms of considering where to go.
Yeah, it's funny, I think about agentic AI and generative, and I'm like, I want to hire the PR firm that is managing the PR for AI because these words are really beautiful and they're exciting and they're intimidating. Agentic AI, I think about agents. And you're exactly right. There is the mathematical, numerical side of it. I think about automation and what we can do in account reconciliations and transaction and all of just this heavy lifting of A plus B's got to equal C, and how can we offload a lot of the manual efforts and move to that more exception-based finance where we're just looking at outliers instead of manually handling all the data. But then obviously narrative reporting and having the tools while you're sleeping or at your kiddo's soccer games, whatever it is, have the tool going, okay, we've noticed this happen in the business, there's this trend, and then have it naturally point you to where the supporting data is in the systems so that you don't have to come up with the trends and the scenarios, write the text, go find all the data, link back to it. I mean, that's such a manual process. So instead, the system can say, here's what we think is happening, here's what we've seen, and then the humans get to go, yes and no, and we want to tweak this, and we kind of want to put that thought forward. Yesterday, I think it was the Chief Digital Officer at Avis Budget Group, and he was saying that he kind of defined, he thinks of AI as not artificial intelligence, but augmenting the individual, I think. So it's like, how do you empower people?
Right.
And I think folks are getting really comfortable with AI in their personal lives, which is what makes this whole thing interesting. Because a lot of times, trends we see in business don't necessarily translate, but folks are at work trying to figure out, oh my gosh, my CFO said, what are we doing with AI? And my kids are at home using AI to build business plans for their lawn mowing service and setting their pricing and their marketing strategy. So it's both approachable and intimidating. But one more thing I'll say is, you know, I was just meeting with a VP of finance before this, and I mean, she's almost like, being here is overwhelming because I just feel like there's so much, like, where do we start? What do we do?
Where do we start?
And, you know, we talk to customers that are planning and asking them, you know, are you doing driver-based planning today? Are you doing any rolling forecast? And they're like, no. And we're like, okay, well, just start there. You know, we don't need to jump all the way to, we've got planning agents that are building our models for us. But it's like, just, I really think in finance, we're seeing in 25 and probably into 26, and I think Gartner and others have substantiated this, we're seeing kind of the pilots and sort of the testing. I think by 27, we'll really see most of your average finance and accounting groups with some real live production AI capabilities. But I would just say to people, don't freak out. You're not, every customer I talk to, they're like, I feel like we're behind. And I'm like, you and every other customer are trying to figure out, where do we start? So like we said, start somewhere, start small, start with pilots. Don't feel like you got to just dive right into having this digital finance team of agents.
And start with an outcome in mind. That was the conversation I just had. They were exactly in that spot. Where do we start? Right? We've been given this edict. We have to go do AI. To do what? So my question was, to do what?
What is the use case?
Her answer was, I don't know. I said, nobody seems to know. Everybody needs to, everyone knows the answer is AI. No one knows what the question is. And the reality is, and this is what's fun about the week, is there are a lot of questions that can be answered with AI. And because of the way we're approaching it, like, we're building these capabilities into these platforms, as opposed to saying, build it off on the side as a separate project. Just leverage what we're building into the software, and you can tell your CFO, who delivered your edict that we want to be using AI, that you are in fact using AI, right? I have so many stories about customers who are starting to use it, and I think they surprise themselves when they're like, wait a minute, how did I just turn that on? I just turned, like, one of my large med device customers, in an hour, less than an hour. I tell everybody, it was 47 minutes from the moment I got an email inquiring to them turning it on and seeing results. 47 minutes. There was no implementation. It was just a feature set. They turned on. They're like, we're using generative AI. I'm like, yeah, you're using generative AI. They were like, how did we do this? I'm like, you turned it on. They're like, is that it? I'm like, yeah.
Well, yeah, your data's there, your structure, your security, it's all there. We just,
And that's the difference. And that's the difference of what we're doing, is it just being, by building it directly into these platforms, right? Having AI inside of EPM, built into the EPM platform, the ERP platform. Everything we do, we're reducing the cost to implement, and we're improving the speed at which you can get to an actual outcome, right? A result for the CFO. So they're seeing AI work for them and deliver a result, as opposed to, we need a massive budget in 3 years to build a data mesh and test things. So.
No, I think you're exactly right, where it's, think about, just forget about AI, forget about technology for a moment, to finance and accounting folks, and just, what are the questions you wish you could answer? Right? What's the data you wish you could get at? What are those, just sit down and go, okay, forget budget, forget technology. What are those nice to haves that we've always wanted? And then bring that to your partners and to Oracle, and we can look at that and go, oh great, actually 2 of the top 5 are feature sets you can just turn on and we can do. But I agree, it's not AI for AI's sake. It's AI for outcome's sake and for answering interesting questions. Because obviously, there aren't any organizations that have any shortage of data. Now it's a matter of pointing to the right data sets and bringing it places. And I think that's something that Oracle offers our customers in a really beautiful way, is being able to point to and analyze data without having to replicate in a lot of different systems. So having the kind of power of the full Oracle platform, I think they can get at that data and answer those really interesting, beautiful questions of other business that they just don't have time to get to today.
Yeah, we've been building decision support systems for a long time with EPM and Hyperion, right? So how do you think that the strategy for Oracle's EPM AI delivery differs from some of the other vendors out there?
The built-in, not bolted on is not just a catchphrase,
Yep.
right? It's turning into a catchphrase for me because I say it so often, but the reality is that's the reality, right? Our AI approach is to build it into the platforms and to leverage the best of, right? So if you look at some of the partnerships we've developed in our infrastructure business, which makes us unique because we are an infrastructure provider and a software SaaS provider, we're able to leverage not just, it was initially Cohere and then it was OpenAI, and we're looking at all of the others, Meta, XAI. So we're not saying there's a one and only one way to do things, right? We're going to leverage the best of the AI LLMs out there, but then build them into our platform so you just get the best of those capabilities. And I think that is fundamentally different than what more or less everybody else has to do, right? Everyone else I compete with has to pick a partner. Or if they pick multiple, they have to develop to multiple. I don't have to do that, right? My infrastructure team is managing the back-end LLMs at the base OCI layer, and I'm just adopting that in my applications up front. Fundamentally different. Just a completely different development world, and that gives scale and speed that I don't think anyone's going to be able to match. I really don't.
Yeah, agreed.
What do you say to customers, and we probably had this conversation in 2014 when the cloud came out, that say, I don't want to put my data in an LLM and have it get trained on our private commercial data? I mean, what kind of reassurances can you give customers around that topic?
I think that's exactly the point. We don't mix your data with any public data. It's your data. We use RAG models to augment the things coming out of a public model, but everything we're sharing relative to AI is based on your own data sets and algorithms referencing your own data sets inside of your own pods, behind your own security layer, behind our cloud infrastructure security layer. So we're not pushing anything outside of the Oracle four walls. Makes it more secure, makes it more stable. And we think, overall, that's going to make a lot of customers happy, because I think that's a big concern is when you start pushing data to multiple clouds and multiple LLMs and multiple data lakes and data meshes, you start exposing more and more of your data, to bad actors potentially. So I think, the way we're approaching it is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
We had some early adopter customers for artificial intelligence in general that started with OpenAI or one of the other popular models, and there was a data breach, and they said, well, we got to pause, put in some governance in place. I mean, are you saying that you can just really flip a switch and get started that easily with Oracle, or do you have to plan it out? Is there some governance required? How do you give that roadmap on, I've got customers with hundreds of use cases separated out by department, finance, HR, IT, whatever, sales and marketing, which is super exciting because we've been in the Office of Finance for so long, and now we can expand our reach in the organization. But at the same time, it's almost overwhelming, to your point earlier. So how do you get started?
Pick a use case, right? Pick a problem that you have and solve for it. Predictive, we talk about predictive all the time.
Yeah.
We have customers who've been doing planning in Hyperion on-premise going back 20 years who are you using a rolling forecast? No. Are you using drivers? No. Are you using anything predictive? No. Are you doing auto predict? No. And you're asking about agentic AI?
Yeah.
Maybe we should start with auto predict as an example. And we've seen that customers who start there with some of the base features that are, I would almost call them light AI, like an auto predict that's using 13, 14 algorithms out of the box, is getting people more accurate and more predictable more rapidly, so they can say, wait, it does work. Yeah, it does. I have a great customer who has gone to a couple of different trade shows and talked about how they proved, I'll say, the truth of AI. They used our auto predict features and our IPM features to actually backtest all their forecasting. So they tested FY24, I believe it was, where they already had actuals, and they were able to say, well, let's use these algorithms to test that same period. We'll use 22 and 23 to forecast 24. Then we can compare that data to actuals. And they found that the algorithm was 75+% more accurate than human forecast. And so the decision was kind of easy when the finance team said, well, if it's better, why don't we let the engine do that work, right? We've proven that it works. We've proven that the tech isn't doing anything nefarious. And now we can go work on the harder problems in our planning process, or that next application that was always on the wish list that we never got to. So I think sometimes it's just doing it, seeing that it's working, and realizing that it isn't doing anything dangerous by moving data outside of your environment or requiring a full implementation with security concerns. All that's baked in. That's how we're developing AI use cases, is to build it right into the existing fabric of your application and your security protocols.
Like, what are the questions that you want to ask about the business that you don't know how to get at? And I think something that most folks are probably using ChatGPT or some sort of chat a bot of some sort in their personal life. I know the other day I was going to throw some chicken on the grill, and I was just curious, like, how long should I leave these chicken breasts on the smoker? And so I asked the Siri tablet, whatever Alexa thing in my kitchen, which is just giving me the Google results. So I asked, how long should I leave this on at this temperature? And she just tells me, we'll just bake it to an internal temp of 165. And I'm like, that's not what I asked you. But I'm expecting from Google, and even they've got the AI overview, but I'm expecting that more ChatGPT experience of, oh, well, these 3 grill masters recommend this, this, and this. So on average, do that. Right. And so I think people need to think about, and everyone needs to get good at asking good questions. Because I think we all know too, if you go ask ChatGPT, hey, explain some theory to me, it's going to rattle off all this stuff. But if you say, explain this theory to me, explain it at a college freshman level, I have this bias, so I want you to tell me both sides and then give me some statistics. Like, the more informed and the more you shape your question, the better answer you're going to get. And so I think that's how you get, one of the ways that you get started is, what questions do we want to ask about the business, and get really clear and specific about how to get at that. And then when you're working with a partner like Oracle, who has the full stack, who has the security, has the scalability, then I think we can help them figure out how to get the answers to those questions.
Context is important.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah, that's why, again, just AI for AI's sake, just I'll turn something on. But it's refreshing though, because like the move to the cloud, a lot of C-suites, a lot of CFOs were very hesitant for a long time. Now, the teams are literally, I mean, at least once a week a customer's like, oh my gosh, our C-suite wants 100 AI use cases in like months. We got to figure it out. And I'm excited about how much folks are adopting it. But there's a big push for it.
Isn't it funny though, to your point, the C-suites were many of them terrified of going to cloud, but they are full gas on AI. Yeah. It is, you will start, I have one customer who was like, the CFO said, thou shalt all come with an AI use case. Yeah. To do what? That's your job, go figure it out. Yeah. And the pace at which they're pushing from the board level and the C level to, you will adopt this, you will figure out how this will make us more efficient, is stunning, because I think cloud was not as big a lift in terms of, okay, different architecture, hey, your provider owns the infrastructure. But when you think about what AI is doing, it's more disruptive, it's more transformative, not just technologically. Yep. And that's, I think, one of the questions I'm getting more interested in talking about is the impacts of AI organizationally, not technologically, but what it's going to do to businesses. How do we align? AI agents don't care. AI agents are not FP&A agents. They're not accounts receivable agents. They're not HR agents. They're technical agents. They can work across anything. Yeah. So what does that say about the barriers of departments and barriers to historical work units? It's just going to change so much that I think we're just at the dawn of it. But I think it's a really interesting space.
The departmental topic you brought up is really interesting, because we've created these structures and organizations because there was no better way to manage this entropy of data and processes in an organization. And to your point, it seems like as long as you know the language, you can communicate, build a language model that knows my business, right? And I think that is going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be revolutionary.
I think it's important that we acknowledge that, it's going to be scary, but when you start thinking about the opportunity it allows, it will be, the transformation's exciting. I've always said, like, this is just the next technology. I don't want, as exciting and transformational as it is, it's just the next thing, right? tires were revolutionary when they showed up. Fire was revolutionary when it showed up, right? The assembly line was revolutionary. It changed work. And that's where I think we are at AI. We know it's going to transform things, and that's scary, and it's exciting, right? And I think that's why it's so much fun. Like these conversations and having the conversations we're having this week are great, because people are starting to realize, hey, I can do some really exciting things, and I can do them at scale, and I can do them with speed that I've never done before. And then I can get on to the next thing. I had one grocer I was talking to yesterday, and she's like, we're a grocer. I just want to sell groceries. I'm like, isn't that a great idea?
Right.
Like, if the technology can start allowing businesses to be the business they are and not technologists.
Yeah, well, and I think too, that's where, companies are dipping their toes in different areas of the business. And no offense to finance and accounting, those are our people. But just like moving to the cloud, HR was on the forefront, right? Folks in HR were like, heck yeah, let's go to the cloud. And finance was like, over my dead body, like not ready. And so I think we're seeing a lot of companies starting to adopt and leverage AI for their customer experience. Which is great. I know as a consumer, I appreciate that very much. And in HR and in other areas. And so I think as with everything, because AI is going to be a significant competitive advantage for the companies that take advantage of it. And I think first and foremost, driving revenue, focus on using AI for your customer experience. I know, again, when the Chief Digital Officer of Avis Budget Group was talking, I'm a big Avis person. And I've noticed my experience, as I'm descending into the airport, it's like, hi, here are 3 other cars. Do you want them in here? The whole thing. And so I think focusing on customer experience, maybe dabbling in HR, things like that. And then for finance, I think thinking about it maybe first too as, like we talked about, that exception-based finance. How do we let the machines and the technology run all of this at scale, and then let our human beings just address the outliers and the anomalies and the interesting bits, instead of getting so bogged down in the mundane that you don't have the capacity or the patience or the emotional bandwidth to then go after the exceptions.
Opportunity, the productivity, and the type of productivity. It's not going to be how many exceptions did you identify. It's going to be how many conversations did you have with the business so that you could make different decisions about how the business operates. That's very different. It's one thing to say, let me read the news and tell you what happened. And that's a lot of what we do in finance, right? Here are the results. Let me tell you what the exceptions are. Here are my variances. Hand it off to the business, and the business starts to think about what they should do. I see a big transformation in finance. I think it's a huge opportunity to say, yeah, no, the system just told me where the exceptions are. So that 6 hours of work became 6 seconds. Now let me take those 6 hours and go set meetings up with the people that I work with and go, here's what it's saying. What should we do about that? How can I help you? How do I reallocate capital to fix this problem or to invest further in an area of opportunity? And I think that's where it is exciting and not scary, because now people are going to start doing the work that they've always wanted to do. Right? There's not a lot of MBAs out there who are like, you know what I want to do? I want to generate 30 or 40,000 spreadsheets a year, and then make sure my macros work.
Yeah, version 37, final, version 3. Yeah, so that's not fun.
I think the ability to actually use the machines to become more human is going to be very interesting. Again, back to organizational behavior. I think it's just, we're early days, but I think it's going to unlock a whole lot more interactivity between finance people and operations people, so they start talking about, again, how do we sell groceries more effectively? How do we solve the business problems of the business, not the business problems of finance or HR or supply chain?
We're not riding horses anymore, are we? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, even at basic levels, the way that we're using it, I mean, Chris and I obviously are big personalities, we have big ideas, we're kind of a tiny but mighty team, and even just using the Zoom AI features so that when we wrap up a meeting, it's, here are your action items, here's what so-and-so said. It's making us mind our P's and Q's more in meetings, which is also probably good. But I think even companies just leveraging AI in that regard. Let it listen in on your meetings and let it summarize what the key takeaways were, who said what, et cetera, because just making things actionable. And to your point, like using machines to make people human again, it's let's just not come and have these great ideas and leave and nothing happens. Let's continue to move the ball down the field using some of those AI capabilities.
It can be overwhelming.
Sure.
Do you have to be a mature customer that has a truly fully rolling forecast with driver-based predictions and all that stuff, or can you get started if you're on Excel today?
Yeah, I think, again, I keep saying start with the problem in mind. Like, what is the thing that is nearest to the business, right? An outcome, an improvement of a key problem. If you are a low margin business and cash is king, why aren't you spending time really thinking about how can we get more predictive with cash? How do I forecast my cash position so I can improve how I leverage that asset, right? So again, same grocer, I'm gonna keep hitting this one, I guess, but they make about a penny on every dollar that they sell. That is an incredibly, incredibly thin margin. So if I can improve the discounts they take in their payables based on predictions in their cash forecast, and I can save them a half a cent, it's a massive improvement to the bottom line,
100%.
right? So every time you identify a business problem and can solve it, right, you're gonna improve how the business operates. So I think it's frame the project, the objective of, call it an AI use case in the business. What are we trying to achieve, right? Is it how we utilize cash? Is it how we deploy capital to projects? Starting to think about the problem first, and then how will the AI improve or expedite the way we solve for that? And to your point, no, you don't have to be fully deployed on everything to take advantage of it. You might start by starting there, right? You might start by saying, these are the things we've been doing manually. Let's try to automate this one thing while we figure out the longer term, in the other domains. So I think it really is a start anywhere approach, but I think always start where the real pain is,
Sure.
as opposed to starting where everything is working, because there's no lift in that, right?
Yeah.
I think you talked about the lift and shift. If I just go from where I was to somewhere else, but I haven't changed anything, why'd you do it? Why'd you even start the journey, right? You want to start the journey because there's some benefit and outcome down the path. So,
Yeah, and I think too, it's about are we or can we capture data in a way that's going to support the questions we want to answer? And again, it's not feeling like you have to have all your data and everything in order, but I even, I lay in bed at night and think about our sales forecast. And I think about agents and analytics that I look forward to having one day, where it's looking at the language that our customers and I are using as we communicate in demos, and are those buying signs, or are we misaligned on timing, or having AI analyze the RFPs and make different strategic recommendations. Or I think about the way that we capture data in terms of how Chris's organization invest their hours of time into aspects of the customer's evaluation cycle. Yeah. How much time are we spending in discovery? How much time are we spending in demo prep? How much time are we spending demoing? How much time do we spend on follow-up demos? And can we see correlations in less discovery, more follow-up demos? And where do we start to make those tweaks? But it's having conversations with your fellow leaders and folks in the organization to say, if I wanted to start answering these questions, is there a way? I mean, we've had so many meetings lately where we're like, all right, let's bring a couple people together and go, okay, if we're trying to get at this, what all do we have today, and what might we need to figure out how to go track or grab so that when we're ready, we can pull all this together. So I think it's just having those conversations about what data would I need to answer these questions? And a lot of organizations may surprise themselves at how easy it might actually be to start capturing data that way that would support that. Mm-hmm. So.
I think it's the foundation. I think we're still, that opens an entire dialogue around structural, data. Like if you throw every piece of data you have in a data lake, you still don't have anything to use.
Out there,
right? And we've talked
treading water.
I've talked to a lot of customers who are doing that, and I don't understand it, to be frank. I mean, I understand what a data lake is, but I don't understand where real value is being driven out of it, because I think you've just built a platform where I can query anything. But when you can query anything, can you query
It's like
anything?
the junk drawer in the kitchen. Like, got a lot of stuff in there,
right.
but
It doesn't answer anything for me. It doesn't address a problem for me. So I think we're still having a lot of conversation with customers who are really realizing that, and I think finally, that different data is important too, right? What accounting looks at to run their business is important and reasonable, and it's different for treasury, and it's different for FP&A, and it's different for when I do compensation modeling, and it's different for the sales force. And so when you start accepting that data needs to be permutated in different ways, you give people the data they need in the right format and let them use it, and let them use these incredible algorithms and predictive, agents and generative functions to leverage it in how they operate the business. I think the sales forecasting example is a great case. I mean, rarely is sales the first place you go to say, let me give them a lot of tools. There's spreadsheets everywhere, there's Salesforce systems everywhere, but they just happen to be the organization generating most of your revenue, right? You might want to spend some time going, hey, if I could help inform them and leverage their hours more effectively, leverage my hours more effectively, what kind of lift can I see from a revenue perspective if I say, hey, Chris, 10 hours a week, you're spending in deals that never go anywhere, and here's why. Oh, I didn't realize that. And then recoup those 10, and then I redeploy them, just like I would redeploy capital. Those hours are capital to me.
Yeah.
Allow me to redeploy those hours into some other function, some other opportunity, some other customer that makes them happy or helps convert them from maybe to yes. I think, again, the usage of data in these platforms is just going to open up more and more and more.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's kind of where we started was, AI is going to expedite and make easy the things that are and open you up to do the work that you really want to in the first place, right? Get to that next use case and that next problem statement.
Yeah, and I think just encouraging finance and accounting leaders and folks, like, set aside some time, maybe grab a buddy, a peer, set aside some time and say, hey, we're just going to go sit in a conference room. Great if you can get together, because we've done this before in our New York office,
Right.
or get on a Zoom, and we're going to block 2 hours. And we're just going to start digging through dashboards, and we already have a lot of it, this data's here, it's there. And so just give yourself time. I think we all kind of jump from this to that, and this meeting to that meeting, and this email and Slack, and there's so much going on that sometimes you do just need to take a beat and dig in. And
Right.
not that we're getting into that flow state, but it just takes a little bit of time
Right.
to sit back and be thoughtful and allow yourself to start to get a little creative with what data do we
Right.
have, what we want to capture. But there's any time we can block time, which is hard because it's precious, and start peeling back layers, we usually come up with some pretty interesting things.
Well, that's where the for what shows up, right?
Correct.
It's not. That's where we decide. You move from AI to AI for what?
Yeah.
What are we doing with it, right? And that's, I think, it's a great point. We get so wrapped up in the day-to-day operations of whatever our business is that we don't always take a moment and go, okay, he said, she said, AI, great, but how?
Yeah.
For what? What are we going to do with it? And so I think being thoughtful and spending some of that time, even independent of software selection and
Yeah.
architecture, just back to what business problem are you trying to solve, right? How do you want to get better in how you operate? That will open up so many angles, because again, data is the fabric, data is the foundation of how we make these decisions, and I think that's what's really exciting is, there's so much more data available, and the technology can handle more and more, and it can align more and more, and correlate more and more, and therefore I can get smarter faster than I ever could before. So I think it's interesting to think.
I think a lot of customers are also starting to reach out to us, and I'm not saying this in a self-serving way, just come ask us and we'll tell you where to start. But we have a lot of customers that are saying, can y'all just give us a 45-minute overview of sort of what you're doing and what's coming, just to kind of get our juices flowing? It's if you don't really know what's out there.
Right.
And then I tell them too, conversely, again, bring us that wish list that you have and let us look at it, and we can probably make some really strategic recommendations on where you can start. So I would just encourage customers, don't feel like you have to have it figured out before you engage with a partner or a vendor. Now, I know that folks also want to be careful to not let the software they select now shape their requirements, because their business is their business. So you need to figure that out. So it's kind of a both and. But I think just being willing to have authentic conversations about, here's what we want, and then show us what you have coming, and then we'll figure out where those roads converge.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I'm super excited to be partnering with you guys on
Absolutely.
the beginning of this revolution.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.